So here with us is a Republican strategist. We have Alex Zdan and a Democratic strategist and News Nation contributor, A. Scott Bolden. Good morning to both of you. Merry Christmas.
Good morning, Anna.
A lot to weigh in on. We'll just kind of do a roundup of our top stories. So let's first, Alex, let's talk about the economy. The stock market is doing well overall. Inflation did tick down. We've got some numbers we can share. But a recent poll is showing that voters want Trump to focus more on these high prices as opposed to foreign affairs. Less globe-trotting, more kitchen table politics. Alex, what do you think the disconnect is here between what the White House is focusing on and what the American people want Trump to focus on?
Well, there's no disconnect. There's a reason the presidency is called the toughest job in the world, because literally everything is on your plate. Every president has to focus on both foreign and domestic issues. There's literally a division in the White House between the foreign side, the domestic side, the policy advisors for different things, the departments within the cabinet. So this is, on all fronts, the president is focused on all the facets of his agenda, including lowering prices and securing American interests around the world.
All right, and Scott, affordability, it's a major talking point for both sides, but it has been. This isn't new, right? This was all along the campaign trail as well. Trump capitalized off the economic frustrations that voters had under Democratic leadership, under Biden, right? He said, every time you go to the grocery store, or you get a receipt from a restaurant, think of me and think of Biden and think of Kamala Harris. And this is how one of the ways that he got into the White House. So how do Democrats continue to win back voters like we saw this past November and offer viable solutions?
Well, clearly Americans want a president that is, quote, America first, which is what Donald Trump ran on, to fix the economy immediately. And so the polling shows that they want him to focus on that. I agree with Alex that the president has to be a president to all people and do foreign and domestic. But the reality is, consistent with his own agenda, he's focused more, at least in the last year, on foreign policy versus inflation. You throw in the tariffs and high prices, the stabilization of inflation. President takes credit for part of the economy, but the bad part of the economy, he's got to take credit for that too. Affordability is not a hoax. And, you know, it's interesting that the Republicans and Donald Trump sound like Biden and the Democrats a year ago or over the last 4 years before Donald Trump took office, because people aren't feeling it. Both sides have to figure out, how do you make the American people feel that the economy is working for them, as opposed to statistics that don't really matter to them on a day-to-day basis when they go to have dinner or they celebrate a birthday, or basically just buying the basics at their local groceries? And so I think it's a real challenge for the House, Senate, as well as the president.
The groaning and the moaning at the grocery store. I mean, I feel it too. At the self-checkout, I'm like, how much do these blueberries cost now, for crying out loud?
No, you say what?
As far as holiday shopping goes, though, Alex, just a quick beat on this. My producers are telling me that holiday shopping is actually up this year.
Yeah. The first $1 trillion holiday shopping ever, up 4.2%. That's a real injection for this economy, and it's a big injection of consumer confidence, because people are casting a vote with their wallets that they believe this economy is good and getting better.
All right, Alex, I'll stick with you on this one. For weeks, Congress has called for more transparency when it comes to U.S. military actions there in Venezuela. And now a few lawmakers also are saying the administration should be consulting with Congress about the strikes in Nigeria. So once Congress is back from recess, as we look ahead, Alex, how do you see this playing out?
Congressional consultation is always part of this, but the president, as commander-in-chief, retains the right to make the first move. Past presidents have done this and then consulted Congress. The War Powers Act is still in place, and I think that Congress has already gotten multiple briefings on the Venezuelan boat strikes. They're not in session right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see Pete Hegseth and some admirals and generals marching to the Hill when they get back in session. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of the American people would like to perhaps see that too. Scott, weigh in here if you can. Should the administration be more transparent to Congress when it comes to these U.S. military actions abroad, not just there in the Caribbean, but in Nigeria even too?
Well, I think they will be transparent about briefings in Nigeria. That's really about terrorism more than anything. And I think the House, the Senate, and the American people will be tolerant of that. They're being less transparent about the Venezuelan attacks on these alleged narco-terrorists. And if you're going to show us the first video, then the second video where the individuals who were still alive were killed, you got to show that. It just seems a huge disconnect, and you're trying to protect yourself or you're trying to hide something, at least perception-wise. And so I don't know why. They've seen certain elected officials, I believe the Big Six or the Big Eight, or some of these committees have seen the second attack, if you will. And obviously Republicans see it one way, Democrats see it another way. But if you're going to be open and transparent as you should, then show both the videos, not only to the full Congress and Senate, but also to the American people.
And of course, there have been a lot of strikes there in Venezuela, in the waters there anyway.
That continued, by the way.
And you're talking about the very first strike, though, where there was that controversial double tap strike, where Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says he was not in the room, but he does continue to say he would have made that call as well. We'll see if we'll get that video or not. Alex, if we can go this way now, we started the year with the Trump administration vowing transparency on the Epstein files and saying they would all be released. So this week, the Justice Department has said they need a few more weeks to release all of its records. What do you expect from Pam Bondi or others at the DOJ? Could they be facing any repercussions from Congress?
I expect full transparency. Congress spoke and spoke very loudly. The president signed the bill. It was overwhelming. The elected officials and the American people want to see these files. Millions of documents are in the queue. Many more are already out there. We're going to find out a lot more. I'm going to be interested to see what's in there, but I think that already we're learning a lot more.
Scott, looking ahead as well, what do you expect the relationship on this issue to be like between Democrats and Republicans?
Well, the relationship between Dems and Republicans regarding the Epstein files will be fine, because I think Alex is right. We're all pushing in the same direction. The only one pushing against this is the White House. I think they've played this very, very badly. They haven't produced the documents within 30 days. I understand that. I'm a litigator. But at the same time, what they produced, how they produced it, what's been blacked out, what's been fake. They actually have produced some fake documents and corrected that. That's a good thing. But there's just a level of distrust between this White House and the victims, and Democrats and Republicans. Remember, the Republicans have pushed the president to do this. They passed a discharge petition. He was forced to sign the production of Epstein files. But this was created, if you will, by MAGA and by the Republicans vis-a-vis what's in those files. Just because you're in the files doesn't mean you did anything wrong. But because of the mistrust, they need to produce everything, quite frankly, with as little blacking out of the substance of what's in these documents, and whether more prosecutions need to take place. The distrust is the overlay and the underlay on the Epstein files.
All right, Alex and Scott, appreciate you weighing in, and Merry Christmas once again. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas,
You
Sarah.
too.